Hello again. It's Geeks Assemble time. Hello, Ethan. Hello, Susan.
Hello.
And yes, and today we are discussing another movie which is based on a comic book release of I think, the late 80s. Um, a story about Eric Draven. If you know that name, then you know what we're going to be talking about. We're talking the original Crow, the Crow from 1994. The infamous film, which was Brandon Lee's last movie, as he was unfortunately killed while filming this.
Mm,
Um, he was destined for big things,
mm,
but funny, like father, like son. It's very strange how things happen.
mm.
Um, so yeah, The Crow, story of unrelented love from beyond the grave. Um, and about revenge. So let's go over to opening thoughts. Shall we go, Susan? Opening thoughts on The Crow.
All right. Well, this is I really think that this is a beautiful movie. It is almost vampiric in its elegance. The Crow character is truly like a vampire because you really can't call him a zombie, even though he came back from the dead like a zombie.
Yeah.
He was very sort of gothic in pre-goth gothic, and he was also um you know really way stronger, and he wasn't just hung up on eating people. So in that case, I guess he really wasn't like any of the other supernatural characters, but he did have some sort of supernatural occurrence, and the crow was his avatar that brought him back. And the crow seemingly is has a spiritual emotional connection with him, and is very ever present, as he goes through his revenge. And it is really revenge. And fact that this is uh Brandon's last movie, we were just reviewing The Shadow earlier in this podcast day, and uh the interesting connection, the connecting thing, the linking thing this weekend is the the shooting death of someone on a set, on a movie set. And it is really horrible what happened to Brandon Lee. Like he was killed in the middle of shooting. So they had to do some stuff with what was brand new in creative circles, some CGI. And they used that to great effect in this movie. And it was at its beginning point, you know, being that this was in 1994. And uh, I really enjoyed the way that it was, the way that it was told, the way that the story was told, sort of through his eyes, sort of through the crow's eyes, kind of back and forth a little bit. And it was about um, somebody who really wasn't going to take guff, and wasn't going to be, he had no fear of dying because that was already something that he'd done. So Yeah, what is life like when you have absolutely no fear of dying?
Mm.
And um yeah, it was a great story, good cast with Michael Wincott as the uh big kingpin, and Ernie Hudson as the cop, and Sophia Shinas as his wife Shelly, Bai Ling as Mika. Oh, that was cool. Seeing Bai Ling. She's or Bai Ling. I don't know how you pronounce first name, but she is so amazing. She's been in so many things. And well, Lawrence Mason as Tintin. You, you've seen him in a lot of things as well. And Tony Todd also, and John Polito also. So all of those character actors and lots of good scenes means a really good story, a really good movie. And it was and it's actually become kind of a franchise.
Mhm.
And that's fun. And um yeah, so that's my opening thoughts. Back over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Susan. And we'll pop over to Ethan.
Ooh, yeah. This came out in 1994, which is like probably one of the best years of movies ever.
Oh,
And this is literally, for me personally, one of the most beautiful, darkly gothic, stylish movies ever done.
hmm,
And I think probably the best revenge movie ever made,
hmm,
for me personally. It's just it's a true gothic noir
hmm,
fantasy revenge movie that just so happens to be based on a comic book. Um, as Lee mentioned, yeah, it's based on a comic book series that started in 1989, finished in 1999, so it only did a 10-year run. Um, Written by James O'Barr, who wrote this as a coping mechanism when he lost his wife to a drunk driver, and he started writing this comic as a coping mechanism, and like just sort of like certain elements. And yeah, it's got a great cast in it. The legendary Brandon Lee, who, yeah, taken way too soon. When I was watching this, I was actually quite sad. It's just, I haven't watched it for a while. So when I see him as Eric Draven, the Crow, how he played him in this, he's got acting chops. He's just got charisma. He is such a cool hero. Um, and you've got Michael Wincott as a great villain, top dollar. Tony Todd is his second in command, and loads of other actors. Ernie Hudson, tons of people in this, which really give a great performance of this story about revenge, love, um, coming back from the dead. You know, a bit of a ghost story. You never know, ghost, undead, whatever, spiritual. But yeah, it's about a man, young man, Eric Draven, who was a guitarist, and him and his wife unfortunately meet a very horrible end by Top Dollar's henchmen. And 1 year later, something miraculous happens. A special crow from the other side realizes he needs to be brought back. Eric Draven needs to be brought back to get revenge and stop them from taking over the city. And it's brilliant. It's one of those movies where it's just, again, we recently spoke about The Shadow, which came out the same year. I miss it when movies had such a style like
yeah,
this.
that's right. They did come out the same year. Go ahead.
Yeah, it had such a style to this movie, and it's a masterpiece. It's a gothic masterpiece, and a great soundtrack as well. I remember a kid back then. I was still listening to. I started listening to like hearing that music like Nine Inch Nails, The Cure, Rage Against the Machine, all that grunge metal rock stuff is great. And
Temple Pilots.
yeah, Temple Pilots, tons of them. And it's a real quintessential movie as well. It's quite an important movie because at that time it was great for there was that whole goth movement. We still got goths today, but goths were quite big at that time. And I think it's a great movie for them and for everybody to really show this really gothic style that even Batman at that time, while still gothic with Batman and Batman Returns, this kind of pushed it further. It didn't play it safe. It just went full on. And it is a full on movie, but it's a fantastic movie with great performances. And unfortunately, it's infamous as well, where one particular scene, which is the murder scene where Eric and his fiance got killed. Brandon Lee had filmed all of his scenes, and they only needed to film one more, which was him getting killed, him and his fiance getting murdered. And unfortunately, there was an accident with one of the guns, and it did shoot him, unfortunately, by the actor who played Fun Boy by accident. Well, it was a faulty gun, and it was Fun Boy who shoots him in that scene, which must have been awful. I can only imagine the feeling and just how it must have affected them. And they nearly did. They nearly considered stopping the film. They weren't too sure what to do. They nearly stopped it, but they had filmed so many of the scenes and stuff, and they did. They went forward with it and gave us quite possibly one of the greatest masterpieces of the 90s, of our generation. And I'm so glad they did, because this film, you don't get movies like this anymore, like a proper dark comic book movie. I mean, we've got the Batman, which is close enough, I suppose. It borrows elements from that. But this film, it's one of those movies where, well, I back a few years ago, I said, there's no way they could ever remake this. You cannot remake this movie. It's a movie you should never touch. It's perfect. I must have jinxed it or something.
Yes, well, we've seen that trailer.
Yeah. Well, it's like Batman of that time. They had such a style. It's got beautiful shots, like of the city, which are miniaturized shots, which are so effective. They did it with Ghostbusters, the Batman films of that time, even The Shadow. They did, but they're so effective. It gives them a really good look, and it almost does look like it could be made by Tim Burton. But it's such a great looking movie. Visually, the music, the actors in it, the characters. And a lot of it is a very visual storytelling, which, again, is something you don't see much in movies these days. Visual storytelling. They've got a good amount of dialogue, but there's also a good amount of non-dialogue scenes, which I'll get to later. But I like certain favorite scenes. But there's so many of this. Yeah, I love this film so very much. And again, it's a great design of Eric Draven. It's a simple hero costume. It's not, a big suit like Batman or Spider-Man. It's just like basically a t-shirt, black skinny jeans, boots, and a long black leather coat, and clown makeup. And he looks bloody awesome in it.
But the outfit is his kid is gorgeous. He's got like sort of a strap shirt this way, and then there's like this sort of wet look spandex that goes over the top of it. I mean, he's got some really fun stuff on.
Yeah. And there's some really we've obviously got the dark rock soundtrack. There's even a lot of orchestra music, particularly some of the violin music played in it, like in certain emotional, sad scenes where you know, he's talking to like Ernie Hudson's character in the apartment. I always say a movie needs to have the dialogue, the acting, you know, the performance, and the music. Once you get all those three combined, you've got something magical. And this film is a gothic, magical masterpiece that's, you know, stands the test of time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest 90s movies we ever got. And yeah, I'm really proud that they said, no, go forward. Let's finish this movie. Get out in 1994. And yeah, perfect film. That's all I could say. It's a perfect movie.
Well, thank you, Ethan. Yeah, Brandon Lee, shot dead March 1993
Hmm.
by the actor Michael Massey. I just cannot understand. I will not understand what he went through when it happened. You know, to have that on your conscience for the rest of your life. Yeah, Paramount sat on this movie for nearly a year after Brandon's death, and they didn't move forward with it until Miramax took it up and did their magical stuff with the CGI. As you say, it, every time you see Eric Draven from the back, that's a body double. Every time you see him running across the rooftop, that's a body double. And if you do see his face in certain scenes, it's CGI face onto a body double. And amazing what they did back then in '94 with this. And it's to me, it's also a gift of love to Brandon Lee to finish this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as I say, Paramount just shelved it, and then say Miramax took it over. I totally agree with what Ethan said with the miniatures. They work so well, and there's so many other movies what use miniatures with the scenery. It just looks awesome.
It's
And
simple but so effective.
yeah, also having the crow fly through over the miniatures.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me looks that effect there is
It's
amazing.
real.
It's not dated at all. That looks
Oh,
awesome.
it still stands.
Well, that's to use the rock goth soundtrack to this movie. And I mentioned this to Ethan before we recorded this. For me personally, it's a fucking great soundtrack. And track one, The Cure, Burn, is the best Cure song ever, in my opinion, which was never released on a Cure album. It was just for this movie. It's an amazing, well, about 6 minutes long. If you get the chance to listen to the soundtrack, listen to because it's track one. Listen to that Cure song, "Burn." It's just an amazing song. As you say, with the cast, Ernie Hudson, he needs to be appreciated more. We all know him for Ghostbusters, but he's been in a hell of a lot of other stuff.
He is so good in this film.
Yeah, he's so good in this. He needs to be appreciated more. Michael Wincott as Top Dollar. He's been in many movies. But great as the big bad in this. Also good to see David Patrick Kelly in this as T-Bird. I mean, I discovered David Patrick Kelly in the film
The Warriors.
The Warriors with the bottles.
Yeah.
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 But then
he's such a character actor. He's so different from how he looks in that film and in this.
Yeah.
What a great actor.
I mean, also he went from the Warrior to, and then he did the Twin Peaks TV series and
Yeah.
all like that. He is a very underrated actor as well.
Yeah. Real changer as well, because changes into characters.
Yeah. And then you've got Tony Todd, the original Candyman.
Yeah.
The original
as
what?
Candyman.
Candyman.
Gotcha.
Candyman. Don't say it 5 times.
Okay.
But yeah, as Top Dollar's second in command, I suppose he is, isn't he? It's a shame Michael Berryman's bits were cut out of this.
Yeah.
As Skull Cowboy, but
Yeah.
I don't know the reasoning why they were cut out of this.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just time. So
It
if those things are still there somewhere, being edited out, surely they can put them back in at some point. Extended version.
I was actually going to say, funny enough, before coming on, for our viewers at home, if you're wondering what the hell are they talking about, what's a skull cowboy in the comics? It wasn't just the crow that brought Eric Draven back. It was a demon. It was a spirit called the Skull Cowboy.
Yeah,
who's literally a skeleton in a badass cowboy outfit. Now, I've not read the comics, but I've looked at the pictures and I was like, oh, he's cool. And originally, Michael Berryman, who played the villain in Hills Have Eyes, the original Hills Have Eyes, was playing the Skull Cowboy himself.
Yeah.
And him and the Crow were spirits
Spirit
who would guide Eric Draven through the land of the living, the land of the dead, and help him guide him to get his revenge. And unfortunately, they did. After he passed away, for some reason, I need to look this up actually, they did cut his scenes out. Now, whether or not it was for time restraints or something to do with the scenes, was it connected to the accidental shooting? I don't know. But there is actual footage on YouTube. And I just found that out because out of curiosity, I only found this out today because I was like, who, what? There was a Skull Cowboy in this? But I did look it up on YouTube just in case. And there is actual deleted footage.
Oh, cool.
Because the clip I saw was, it was the church. So I'm assuming this was actually, I think this was actually Eric going into battle, Top Dollar and his, deranged sister and second in command save the day. And Michael Berryman appears as the Skull Cowboy saying, forget it, leave the girl, you've done your job, this is it. And Eric Draven says, no, you don't understand, I need to save her, I need to. And then he says, you could lose your powers through this, it's worth it though. And I thought, and I was kind of like, whoa, for a deleted scene, that was great. And he does some, again, it's obviously like they must have added something in, but you see him like doing something and then he disappears and Eric runs in to the church for the final battle. I would love to see more of this. I would be very interested to see where they would have gone with this guy.
Yeah.
He is quite a haunting looking character.
Yeah, I never, until you guys just said so, I never heard of it.
Yeah, and it's great hearing Michael Berryman's voice because I was so used to.
Who's Michael Berryman?
If we reviewed The Hills Have Eyes, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
He was the guy, tall guy, bald head.
Okay.
And he's been in many things. He was also a patient. You see him as a patient in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And I recently just rewatched a TV show called Z Nation, where he played a villain in season 4. And it's quite funny when you hear his normal voice, and he's quite a well-spoken guy, actually. But
it's just got one of them looks, hasn't he?
He's got one of those very unique looks, a very unique look, very cool, unique look, actually, I have to say. But yeah, as we said, the Skull Cowboy, these scenes were cut out. But I would love to see more of this because, very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, if it say if the cut, they edit these things out, but they must keep them.
Right.
Yeah, they must keep them. But even when they've edited the stuff out, this film, unlike some films which might, they might not come out as great, and probably you go, we could have had more dialogue and more scenes. The film's still perfect,
Yeah,
even
without the skull cap.
without Skull Cowboy or certain scenes and stuff. It's still a perfectly blended movie.
Mm.
Very perfect.
And with back in '94, the technology what they've used in this for the to complete it without Brandon Lee,
Mm.
it amazes me how
It does, yeah.
they did that back then.
Yeah, 1994, it seemed to be like a good year for effects, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Shadow, Jurassic Park, The Mask.
Yeah,
All of that still stands up today.
Uh-huh. You're
yeah,
right.
Really, really, all those films in that 1994, the effects are outstanding.
yeah.
A lot better than some of today's stuff.
That's true. That is true. And
That is very true.
I mean, and it is a dark movie. It's
Wow.
and the way they took the character Eric Draven sort of straight out of the comic book pages
Hmm.
and didn't really mess with the design. They just said, "Let's do that. What's in the comic books
Yeah.
with the white makeup and the dark eyes and the lips, very Joker-like."
Hmm.
Um, but it works. And
Yeah.
this has film has become a cult movie. The people just love this movie,
Yeah.
and this is why I think some fans of this movie are up in arms about the new one which is coming out, where they've totally rearranged the makeup and
Hmm.
it's not even recognisable.
Yeah. And it's just unfortunately, like many movies today, it's just stealing and copying. Again, we mentioned this recently. Like Marvel's got a lot to answer to. The Dark Knight trilogy, unfortunately, does as well. There's a lot of problems I have with the Dark Knight trilogy, where a lot of films try to copy it by making it very grounded, realistic, which never really works because then they make like either the city look really clean. It's not meant to be clean. It's meant to be dirty, and it just they try to do things like copy. Clearly, they've copied other, you know, Joker actors with the type of makeup and stuff, and you think it just doesn't work.
Huh.
Well, talking of copying, the scene in this um, was a sort of a scene by scene copy. Well, not in this movie, but a certain movie copied these scenes from The Crow, in my opinion, scene
Mm,
by scene, um, where the Crow meets the gang around the table in the hideout, where he just walks in, sits down. That to me, if you watch the scene in The Dark Knight, where the Joker just walks in up to the gangs around the table, that is scene by scene stealing from the Crow.
mm.
The
It's
way,
literally,
even where the Joker acts and points.
Yeah.
Uh,
mm.
but
And it,
Christopher Nolan has never said that he did that on purpose or he was a fan of this movie at all. So he's
yeah,
still from the best. Still from the best, I suppose.
Yeah.
yeah. But
Um,
because I remember when I first saw The Dark Knight at the cinema, me and my brother went to see it. And as soon as that came on, even my brother was like, we were looking at each other. And I was like, did they? Is this scene stolen from The Crow? And he went, "I bloody well is, man." It was like, of course it is.
but we'll have it. We'll have a open session and free range for anybody. So who wants to go?
Yeah, I was enjoying seeing Bai Ling. She's got
She was one weird woman.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
in this one it was so strange and stuff, and Mika.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like having uh I mean, the fact that she's been doing stuff all along, and mostly just sort of you know sort of so yeah, like, yeah, she is weird. She was in Samurai Cop, and she was
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
she just has done a lot of sort of cheesy stuff recently, but she will be I mean, she even did a play on the movie Barbie called Barbie Rehab. I mean,
What's that?
she does some
You have to look us up now.
silliness, and I think that this was one of the last things that she did that was really, really serious. And I think that that's pretty cool. Anyway, um, yeah, I know that I think that she played Bang Bang in the Brooks Brothers, or do what is that? Anyway, so that was a movie about strangeness and people with their, and so I really like that she was in this, and anyway, yeah, I just wanted to shout her out.
Yeah, that was a strange relationship with Top Dollar, since it was supposed to be brother and sister.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but she got a comeuppance.
Yeah. And he gets some good comeuppances, the villains in this.
Well,
Really brutal.
Make her that she got her eyes pecked out.
Yeah.
Well, she was good at taking people's eyes, wasn't she?
Yeah. So it's like they all got their
Yeah.
deaths based on who they were.
I mean,
Yep.
top dollar, up on the church roof with the crow gives you. I've got a gift to give you, and pain. It was pain, and he gave him all the pain that he'd ever felt.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And of course, what a shot as well, like how he just falls to his death, impaled on this gargoyle, wings through his body, the horns through his mouth, and then the gargoyle is like a river of blood.
Yeah.
What a great
Yeah.
shot. What a great comic book gothic style shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just every shot in this movie is done so stylishly with great accuracy, great precision, and the lighting as well for so many of the scenes, like from like the dreamlike scenes, the flashback scenes. It's very much like a night. I think the best way to call it is a nightmarish dream,
Yeah.
a nightmarish gothic dream. And just like all the like, I love the scenes between uh, Eric and Brandon and Ernie in the apartment scene when he's like talking to him. And it's just really quite sweet moments when he touches his head and he sees that he was there all the way through, like he stayed with his fiance. And Ernie lights a cigarette. He takes the cigarette from him, smokes it. It's just so naturally acted. And just he says, "Shouldn't smoke these, they'll kill you."
Yeah.
And then he says, like, it's such a comic book thing, something you'd hear in Batman, where he just says, "Well, you're going to do your vanishing act this time? I thought I'd use the door this time."
Yeah.
I mean, what a beautifully done scene. And there's so many quotes in this.
I mean, yeah. I mean, also as well. I mean, it's dark, it's gothic, it's violent, but then you've got your sort of comic turn with is it Skank?
Skank,
Uh,
yeah.
well, he just goes through it all the time.
Hey, Skank.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's trying to save
Yeah.
T-Bird, and he can't do it. Then then he knows that the crow's going to come for him, so he's hiding under the table. He's the comic element of this movie.
Yeah.
But he gets his comeuppance as well. Well, they all do.
Hmm.
But it's so well made. And the story it's a simple story.
Hmm.
It's not complicated at all.
No, that's the thing.
And I'm glad it's like that, because if they started adding things here and let's do this and let's do that, and I think no, just keep it as a simple story. It's a love story, because he goes back to the grave at the end. I know this movie's had several sequels made, but it's a different crow every time. It's not Eric Draven, which I think is a great idea. Don't bring the other characters back. Have another crow.
Yeah.
As you've mentioned before, there was a woman.
I was going to say, this is the fun part, right? This is what I like. I would love to read the comics because, like I said, it only did a 10-year run, so it'd probably be easy to read, really. Eric Draven was the first crow, but as the film suggests, it suggests that whoever dies in a really bad way, a really awful way, they won't be able to move on. So a crow appears to that person and makes them the crow. Eric Draven was the first one. And then afterwards, you had one crow who had a mustache and beard. I don't know what his name was, but there was one crow that was a woman. And this was back in the 90s. They had a woman crow. And I thought, what a great idea. If you're going to do a sequel to the movie, I was talking to my girlfriend, Kylie, about this, and we said, give us a character who is not Eric Draven. Let's find out what they go through to become a crow. Hell, even you could have maybe what was the girl's name? The little girl.
Sarah.
Sherry, what it?
Sarah. The name was Sarah.
Oh yeah, Sarah. Yeah, the little girl, Sarah. We said, you could have maybe concentrated on her or something, or someone connected to her, like later on. You've got so many characters you could focus on. I think that's a great way you could have done, which unfortunately with this movie coming out, that was one of the things I was dreading. They said a Crow movie, and I was just like, please just be one of the other characters. Please want to be other characters. But no, then they say it's Eric Draven. I'm like, right, okay, great. But it's a great idea to try and not touch Brandon Lee's Crow. Brandon Lee is Eric Draven, and it's a very important film because they, like you said, it's very heartfelt because they did it for him to continue the movie for him. He is Eric Draven. If you want to do another Crow film, talk about the woman Crow. I'd love to see what she can do. Talk about a Crow with this beard and mustache. I would love to see what he can do.
She'd mostly kick ass in high heels.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Why not?
I know.
I'd actually love to see a female Crow.
Yeah, good idea.
It'd be different, and you could even have like maybe little harken backs, like say like, oh, there was supposedly someone known as the Crow before, like Eric Draven. So then it gives it like a bit of a myth in this dark city, saying like, there's always someone called the Crow. There's someone like some Crow out there. It'd be a great chronological story.
Yeah. Are we, anything, Susan, there, or are you?
Yeah, I just think that Sarah would have made a really good Crow too. I think that is that's a genius thought. And like the other thing that I think would be really fun is if they explain like how the Crow does some of that stuff, because if you start to explain a little bit, you can grow the lore a little more. I think that might be fun. I don't want to see another Eric Draven one. I agree completely that Eric Draven
is
I
Brandon Lee.
mean, is Brandon Lee is Eric Draven, and don't mess with that. That's
It is. I totally agree. It's one of
and
those movies. It's one of those movies where I think you should just. We've had movies remade before. We know that. We've had so many Batman films, but that's
Yeah.
different because you could do different. But The Crow just has something where you just go, don't touch it. Just please don't touch it.
Yeah.
It's a
yeah,
masterpiece. It doesn't need to be remade with that same character.
Yeah. I agree. And a lot of people out there is saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
and his father, being, uh, Lee, the kung fu artist,
Yep, Bruce Lee, yeah.
Was you see him trying to live up to that, and he was there. This really proves that he was right there.
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
gonna be the same kind of film star that his dad was.
Yep. And like his dad, he had the talent. He had the magic.
Mm-hmm.
And the dad roughly around about the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon was about late 20s. Bruce was early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird how things turn out.
Yeah.
But also, as well,
She the woman who played Sarah, to go back to that character really quick, she didn't end up working again until 2009 after this. So like 15 years later, it took her to get back to doing acting, even though she was a good actress at the
Yeah,
time.
that's right. Yeah,
but
that's right. I remember that actually. She didn't do acting for a long time after that, and it's understandable. But yeah, she started doing acting again in 2009.
I suppose if you were there on the set that day, it happened. Whoever the actors were on set, or the cameramen, and the sound man, that's going to live. That is going to live with you for the rest of your life. That scene when you say action, and all of a sudden the leading man is on the floor, dead.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
there was one actor. I think it might have been Eddie Hudson who just said, "Just leave it. Don't complete the movie."
Hmm.
I don't know if it was him or not. I can't remember. There was one actor who just said, "Just leave it. We can't go on with it now." But I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because I say this is Brandon Lee's legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the big movie because he did some movies in the 80s which were quite, that's 80s standard action movies of the time.
Uh-huh.
But this was, if things took a different way, this was the movie to
yeah.
really shoot him into stardom. And it did shoot him into stardom.
Well,
But
so
unfortunately, he's not here anymore.
originally the film company wanted River Phoenix
Yeah, that's
or
right.
or Christian
Christian.
Slater, but they went for Brandon Lee, and thank God they did.
And River Phoenix died shortly thereafter.
93 he died the same year.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
Christian Slater, you know,
He's
still
still
going
alive,
strong.
yeah.
what?
Christian Slater's still going strong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's strange, isn't it? Like Brandon Lee, he was on the edge of being a big star.
This was
Same,
like, yeah.
same as River Phoenix. They were on the cusp of being global stars with these movies.
Yeah.
Their lives were just cut short.
Yeah.
One accidental, one sort of self-inflicted with the drugs. It's, I mean, River Phoenix was an amazing actor.
Hmm.
Do you see any of his movies? If you ever see My Own Private Idaho, that's one of
Oh,
his best.
God, I love that one.
Yeah.
We may have to review that one at one time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say Brandon Lee. This is his crowning glory,
Yeah.
and you just can't take that away from the guy.
Yeah.
And these Hollywood producers who think they can kiss my ass.
Yeah. Big time. Same here.
Yeah.
So,
And
anything else you'd
I
like to
think that
say?
we in America need we need somebody to come and take away all the live rounds of ammunition. I'm just tired of all this. I mean, we got too many guns, too many rounds of ammunition. We got too many machine guns, too many bump stocks, too much armament. I mean, it is ridiculous here. And I just think that it was, these, it's bound to happen when you got so much of the other junk going on, you know?
Hmm. What does it take though, Susan? How many deaths?
I don't,
Uh,
I don't know.
mm,
I don't have an answer to that question. And I mean,
there's
it's
on,
why
there's only,
it's why I joined Moms Demand Action, you know?
yeah. I mean, there's only certain people what can change these things, and it's your government. And if your government
Yeah.
aren't change things, then
Uh,
it'll just carry on and carry on.
Yeah.
So, anything else on the Crow before we go to final saying score?
Yeah, if this had been shot in England, it never would have happened because there wouldn't have been live ammunition anywhere. Am I right? I mean, how many millions of rounds did Unit use? How many millions of rounds did all the war movies we use? Oh my gosh, you guys are making all the good movies and nobody ever got shot and killed.
Well,
Ugh! Makes me grumpy. We have too much of the other stuff
we've
going
got
on.
we've got a grumpy Susan. She's turning green. Right, we'll go to final saying score, shall we? Ethan.
Easy. 10 out of 10 crows.
10 out of 10 crows.
Literally. It's
Can't say more than that, can you?
Can't say more than that. It's 10 out of 10. It's literally one of the most perfect movies in our history.
I'd say the only thing what isn't perfect is, what happened to the actor.
Yeah.
Susan.
All right. Well, I'm gonna agree with Ethan again. What in the heck, dude? Okay, this is 10 out of 10 cans of white face paint. This is gothic glory, and I just love that it led people to listen to more Sisters of Mercy and London After Midnight
Hey.
and all these cool things, and then The Cure just was like featured again in a movie. There's nothing better than a Cure soundtrack in a movie. Anyway, so my in my humble opinion, 10 out of 10 cans of white face makeup. Anyway,
Oh,
over to you, Lee.
me, it's gonna be. Ooh, do I go?
You do it.
There's
Do
nothing
I?
wrong with being on the same levels.
Yeah, it's 10 wedding rings out of 10.
Oh,
Um,
perfect. Yeah, the wedding ring.
the wedding ring. Oh, she'll never take it off. Um,
The bit when the crow gives it to her in the end.
yes. Oh,
Brilliant.
we never mentioned that. How well trained was that crow?
Yeah,
I mean, they might have used more than one, but that was a well trained crow.
yeah.
And you can train them.
Yeah, crows are very clever. They're
We've got
very
about
intelligent.
we've got about 5 what come to our garden every day asking for food
I'm gonna have to start.
outside our window. The wait
Get
until you go
get
out.
food out for a crow
Oh,
and see
yeah,
if it comes
yeah.
down.
But yeah, 10 out of 10. I would say it is 100% classic movie. It's a shame Brandon never saw the success of it.
Oh my God. It's just not
Um,
fair.
but it's a cult movie now, and he is forever the Crow.
Yeah.
It through the merchandise of what it can be, t-shirts, mugs, figurines. He is there as the Crow forever.
Yeah.
Um, so great movie. What they did with it, amazing. So that is our review of The Crow, the original version, the best version. I'd like to thank Susan and Ethan for sitting here tonight, talking all things movie. You guys out there, if you've seen The Crow, leave a message. Let us know what you thought of it. Leave a message if you'd like to join us on these little videos. You'll find our videos on all social media platforms because the link is shared across all of them. So just get in touch. You've got to be 18, because this movie was 18, so got to be 18 and have a working camera and microphone on the device you use, and you'll be able to join us. And if you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, please remember to press the bell notification button. When you join, you'll get notified every time we put one up. Is that it? Everything? That's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I say again, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Ethan. It's
Thank you,
nice to
Lee.
see you again, Ethan. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Really nice
good.
to have you here.
Yeah,
So
it's always nice when there's other people here, not just me and Grumpy Susan. I'm gonna Grandpa Grump, Grandma Grump. No, but yeah. So until next time, guys. Please be safe and always remember, love the one you're with.